Have you ever wondered how to move to Finland the smartest way? In 2026, rules have changed, and if you don't know the best and secret options, your move could cost you time, money, or even your sanity. I've helped dozens of professionals settle in Finland, so today I'm going to show you the 8 best routes to Finland, the hidden pitfalls, and how to choose the path that guarantees a hassle-free start for you. To start, let me show you how you can enjoy one of the best work-life balances in the world. So picture this: you finish your work every day at 4 or 5, your boss never messages you after hours, and your boss is more likely to invite you to a sauna than send you a 10 p.m. email. Plus, you call your boss by their first name and get 2, eventually 2.5 days paid holiday per month. These are just some of the perks of working in Finland. But how do you move to Finland for work? You need a work permit, and there are 2 main types in general. One is the regular work permit, työntekijän oleskelulupa, and it works like this. You secure a binding job contract from a Finnish company, usually from abroad, for your first permit. Your gross salary must be at least 1,600 euros per month and no minimum for EU citizens. You're only allowed to work in the specified job field, no such requirement for EU citizens, and currently the processing time is 1 to 2 months. And the second type is specialist permit, erityisasiantuntija in Finnish. You also need a job offer from a Finnish company like with the regular one, but this is for highly skilled workers in expert roles, and your gross salary must be at least 3,827 euros per month in 2025 and requires a higher education degree or equivalent experience. Processing time is only 14 days, and family members can also get the 14 days fast track option. You also get fast track local registrations in Finland when you arrive. And note that the job must be located in Finland, and for example, remote job in another country doesn't qualify. But how do you look for work in Finland? Here are some tips. The market is tough, but it's possible. For example, my client Nicole secured a bioinformatics role, and Rafael landed a paper industry engineering job from abroad. You can use sites like LinkedIn, workinfinland.com, thehub.io, and jobsinfinland.fi. In my opinion, this is the most practical way to move to Finland because you don't have to fight in the tough job market in Finland. And trust me, it's easier to win Eurovision than job hunt here without the plan. And bottom line, whether you're a regular employee or a specialist, Finland's work permits offer a clear path and some of the best work-life balance you'll find anywhere. But what if there was a secret way to have a remote job and move to Finland legally? Enter EOR, employment of record. Here's how it works. In traditional employment, you work for an employer and they pay you directly. Nice and easy. But with EOR, there's a third player, the EOR company. So your employer pays a monthly fee to the EOR, which then officially employs you, pays your salary, and handles all the taxes, social security, and paperwork. This means you can keep working for your remote employer and move to Finland legally with all work-related liabilities covered. I've partnered with NerdsBay, a Finnish EOR company, to make this possible for you. So who qualifies for the EOR option? You need a higher education degree or special expertise acquired through work or education. Your remote employer must pay at least 5,300 euros per month for your work, including your salary and all other employment costs. So this isn't your gross salary pay, it's the total cost to your employer for your work. And this 5,300 euros per month is enough to NerdsBay to employ you with the specialist permit in Finland, allowing you to get the permit in 14 days for you and your family. For EU citizens and people already living in Finland, such as non-EU family permit holders, the monthly payment level is 3,000 euros per month, including salary and other employment costs. This means if you find a remote job abroad while already living in Finland, then NerdsBay can set up the work so that you don't have to worry about how taxes and other employment liabilities work. To summarize, if your employer pays enough for your work, you can get a permit to move to Finland with your family. And NerdsBay will assist you throughout this entire process. If you meet these requirements, then you can book a free consultation with NerdsBay, and they will share more details and they can run the numbers for you and help you with the process. Link in the description. And full transparency, if you enter a deal with NerdsBay, I made a commission with no extra cost for you for my long drink fund. But what if you wanted a more straightforward way to move to Finland that builds your skills and expertise? For example, my relocation client Harry decided to move out of Hong Kong and was admitted to a university in Finland and was able to receive the student permit. To be eligible for the student permit, opiskelijan oleskelulupa, you may need to apply for studies that lead to a degree, such as a vocational training, bachelor's or master's. But how do you do that? Well, first you check available programs on Opintopolku. So you start by reading about study programs in Finland on Opintopolku, a site containing info on all available programs, except how to survive winter without complaining. Yeah, we Finns love to complain. Each program has different requirements and entry exams and application periods. Check tuition fees and scholarships. So programs are subject to tuition fees unless you are an EU citizen or you meet one of the criteria that exempts you. For example, if you move to Finland under a Type A work permit and later decide to study, you don't have to pay. Some programs offer scholarships to cover tuition partly or fully. And note, vocational education will also require tuition from August 2026. Prepare and apply. So you choose your programs and apply, prepare for exams if necessary, and then you just wait for admission results. Few key notes. With a student permit, you have unrestricted right to work in any industry, but your work hours can be maximum of 30 hours per week and 1,560 hours per year. You have an income requirement, which means you must have enough funds in your bank account at the time of applying for the permit. Requirement depends on your target city and your family size. You also need a health insurance to cover your entire length of studies. Here's my take. So the student permit is a practical way to move to Finland to build your skills as well, but it comes with tuition fees and living costs. Part-time jobs are very tough to find and you'll need to plan your finances carefully. But what if your goal is to do a PhD or research in Finland? Then your route is the researcher permit, tutkijan oleskelulupa. So who qualifies for this? You have a bachelor's, master's or doctoral degree and a Finnish university or research institute has signed a hosting agreement with you. And there are two types of permits. The EU researcher permit, which is usually type A, if you have a master's degree or higher. And the national researcher permit, this can be A or B permit if you have bachelor's degree. And Migri, the immigration office, will decide this when you apply. Both allow you to live and do research in Finland. The EU version also allows mobility to other EU countries. Few keynotes. You must show sufficient funding, which currently is 1,430 euros monthly salary if employed, or 1,210 euros per month in funds if self-funded. So the first permit can be granted for up to 2 years, depending on the hosting agreement. You have the right to work alongside your research as long as research remains your main purpose. The EU researcher permit holders may conduct part of their research in another EU country. The bottom line, if you got the degree, a hosting agreement, and the funding, the researcher permit is your ticket to Finnish academic life and maybe a few Nobel Prize dreams on the side. This next option lets you build your dream business in the land of saunas and maybe even run meetings in one. Just don't bring your laptop. So imagine this, you got a killer business idea or you're sick of your current country and just want to relocate to your existing business somewhere with more lakes than people. Enter the entrepreneur permit. So you need to start a business or relocate your current business to Finland and establish a company in Finland for your business operations. There are two main forms, but let's start with the regular business permit, yrittäjän oleskelulupa. Here's how it works. The process works like ELY-keskus, the Center for Economic Development, Transport and Environment. Try saying that 5 times fast, will grill your business plan and numbers to check if you can earn enough money to sustain yourself. If ELY gives you the green light, then Migri will process your permit. So after you received your permit, you can move to Finland to start your company. The second form is the startup entrepreneur permit, startup-yrittäjän oleskelulupa. And the idea is to found or run a company that aims for growth. And you first apply for an eligibility statement from Business Finland, who evaluates your business idea. It must be innovative. Regular consulting or restaurants don't qualify. If approved, apply for the permit from Migri. And the startup permit is eligible for the fast-track processing of 14 days for you and your family members. And you must have enough funding for your stay. So the permit is issued for 1 year or 2 years if you have enough funds for 2 years. A few notes for business permit. You have unrestricted right to work, but your income must come primarily from the business. You can establish the company in Finland after you move to Finland. But what if you have the Finnish roots and want to get back to your roots? So my relocation client Craig from America had Finnish grandparent who left for America back in the day. Later he discovered that he can apply for a remigration permit and move to Finland. And now he's been here for 4 or 5 years almost. This is the remigration permit, paluumuuttajan oleskelulupa. So how does it work? You qualify if you have or had a parent or grandparent who was a Finnish citizen at birth, and you can provide proof of this, and you can prove your relationship to your parent or grandparents. And note, obtaining the necessary documents can be challenging, so be prepared for extensive paperwork and research and some detective work. And Greg has even set up a Facebook group for immigrants where you can ask questions and get support. I have linked that in the description. Keynotes. At the moment, you can only apply for this permit with the paper form only, so you cannot use the Enter Finland portal. Processing time currently is 4 months. You have unrestricted right to work in any industry, and you don't have any income requirement. But what if you're moving to Finland and want to bring your family with you? So imagine this, you got a job at Rovio Mario, the Angry Birds company. So the question is, can your spouse and your children come too? Answer is yes, thanks to the family permit, perheenjäsenen oleskelulupa. But how does it work? Well, we need to define two things. First is the sponsor. So sponsor is the person who will move or already live in Finland. So think of this as the main applicant who received a job or study admission in Finland. Then we have the family members, including a spouse, a registered partner, or a cohabiting partner must have lived together for 2+ years, unless you have a joint custody of a child, a person who has a custody of a child under 18, an unmarried child under 18 of whom the sponsor has custody, and the people who are not considered family members are people you're dating or your other relatives, for example, your parents if you're already over 18 years old. For the permit process, you also need to prove your relationships. So how do you do that? You'll need legalized and translated birth and marriage certificates. EU certificates are exempt, so you don't have to do that. So if your country is in the Apostille Convention, you need to get an apostille stamp on your certificates. And if not, then you have to legalize the document first with your country's foreign ministry and then at the Finnish or Nordic embassy. And start this process early. It can take weeks or even months. And few keynotes. So family permit holders have unrestricted right to work, and there's an income requirement for your household if you bring family. This depends by city and your family size. You can check the details on Migri's website. And processing time is typically around 4 months at the moment. And if your sponsor applies for a regular work or study permit, the family permit cannot be processed at the same time because there's a huge backlog of family permits processed at Migri, the immigration office. But if your sponsor is eligible for the fast track option, then so are you. So the bottom line is this. If you want to bring your family to Finland, get your paperwork in order early. Check who qualifies as a family member and be patient with the process. With the right prep, you'll be living in Finland together, no Angry Birds required. Next up, a special route for non-EU citizens who don't need a residence permit in Finland. How is that possible? So my client Matthew was a dual citizen, he's still alive, is a citizen of Hungary and Australia, and his wife was Australian. And when they moved to Finland, she was able to join him without a residence permit required. The secret? The residence card for family members of EU citizens. EU perheenjäsenen oleskelukortti. Try saying that also 5 times fast. So if you're a non-EU citizen, say American, married to a Swedish person, you both move to Finland, you qualify as a family member of an EU citizen. But note, if your family member or spouse, for example, is a Finnish citizen who is already in Finland, you need to apply for a residence permit based on family ties instead. But how does this work? Well, you apply for a residence card for a family members of EU citizen. Remember, not a residence permit. And your EU family member needs to complete the registration and move with you or before you. And you start this process by applying for this in Enter Finland, which is the portal for the applications. And then you visit Migri, the immigration office in Finland. And after processing, you can collect your residence card in Finland and you're good to go. Note that you need legalized and translate marriage or birth certificates unless they're issued by an EU country. For example, Swedish certificates don't need to be translated or legalized. You have an unrestricted right to work from day one. And the bottom line is that if you are a non-EU family member of an EU citizen, this express lane to Finland, no permit drama, no waiting, just some paperwork and quick trip to Migri will get this sorted. And what if you just have enough money and want to live in Finland? Is that possible? So picture this, you're enjoying sauna, nature, and a steady stress-free life, no job required. So what if you simply have enough money and just want to retire in Finland? Well, you can move to Finland under sufficient funds, but this is only for EU citizens. So how does this work? So it's only for EU citizens. You don't need a residence permit. EU citizens don't need permit in general, but you need to register your right of residency under the sufficient funds grounds. But how much is sufficient then? Well, the problem is that Migri does not publish a specific number, and it's always decided case by case. And according to Migri, you can show evidence of regular income, like pension, rental income, etc., evidence of property or savings, recent bank statements, a sponsor who will support you financially. So what's the process? Well, you simply apply for the EU registration on Enter Finland, you book a meeting with Migri in Finland, and then you visit Migri in Finland bringing all the documents. And if you meet all the requirements, you usually get the decision immediately and start enjoying life in Finland. So if you got the steady income or savings, the sufficient funds route, it lets you enjoy Finland's peace and quiet, no job required, just paperwork and love of sauna. So now you have all the most common options available, but your moving plans will fail if you don't know the exact steps to relocate to Finland smoothly. Watch this. I have broken down the step-by-step system to settle in Finland stress-free.